24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, safety and security officers stand watch over psychiatric centers run by the New York State Office of Mental Health, as well as service offices operated by the Office of Mental Retardation and Developmental Disabilities. As sworn law enforcement officers, SSOs conduct traditional police duties, such as enforcing criminal, traffic, and hazardous material laws. They also respond to potentially dangerous confrontations and patrol facility grounds. But these duties are just a part of their responsibilities. As the ultimate guarantors of safety and security for staff, patients, and visitors, SSOs conduct daily fire safety inspections, provide fire safety training to staff members, and control access to the hospital or service office. From law enforcement and safety inspection to staff training and patient interaction, their skills, knowledge, and dedication to duty help to ensure the well-being of tens of thousands of New York's most vulnerable citizens. These are New York's safety and security officers, sworn to serve and protect. New York's 750 safety and security officers work in 26 psychiatric hospitals and 15 developmental disability centers across the state. In each of these facilities, SSOs provide critical services that enable therapeutic and other staff members a safe and secure environment in which to provide the highest quality care to patients and consumers.
Everything we do revolves around keeping the staff and consumers safe. That's law enforcement, building inspections, everything is revolving around keeping them safe.
We ensure that while they're here, that they're safe and secure, they're free from fire hazards, from security risks, from assaults, from pretty much anything bad that could happen to them. We're the ones responsible for making sure it doesn't happen.
Each SSO is a sworn law enforcement officer with powers on par with local police departments, but those duties are just the beginning of their job and the responsibilities they carry. Working in constant contact with the mentally ill and developmentally challenged creates a unique set of challenges for these officers. Each day they enter a world where the unexpected is the norm.
My officers are everything from a medic to a fireman to a police officer. They have several responsibilities when they're on duty, and they can be called upon at any time to do any one of them.
I think the challenge of dealing with a mentally ill person is the unpredictability portion of it. I talked to an individual on one day and had a completely rational conversation with them, and everything seemed to make sense, and then had to respond to their ward the next day because they're flipping out and throwing chairs across the room and trying to hit employees.
We have to know penal law, vehicle and traffic law, maybe even environmental conservation law. We deal a lot with hazardous chemicals and waste. We have a right-to-know officer. He's responsible for maintaining material safety data sheets. We have to know building codes, property maintenance codes, fire code.
To provide the proper environment for staff and patients alike, safety officers are on premises and available to respond to any emergency around the clock. Each shift begins with a complete briefing on the previous day's activities and plans for the coming day.
The shift that's going off duty tells us what's been happening as far as acuity of wards. A high acuity means that there's a lot of activity. Some of the patients are very agitated. They've had a lot of problems. They also tell us if they've had any issues with the security systems, fire alarm systems, there's been any break-ins. Basically anything that's happened on the shift prior to ours is what we cover in pre-shift.
And, you know, work out amongst ourselves who's gonna work where and who's gonna do transports, and if anyone has fire inspections scheduled, and then we disperse after that and go to our post assignments.
SSOs are charged with maintaining control over access to the hospitals and developmental centers. They are often the first staff members visitors interact with, and their uniforms make them a visible representative of their facility. Officers understand they have a responsibility to maintain and project a professional image at all times.
We have an officer stationed at each building, making sure that the visitors are being taken care of, that they see their loved ones. We give them their IDs, we let them in. If they needed to be escorted, we escort them or bring them down.
We know our job well, and experienced in it, but at the same time that we're the good guy, and you know, we're friendly and we're there to help you, and not looking for things to get people in trouble for. And I try to be happy and greet people, make them feel comfortable when they're coming in and out, and try to ensure that they have a good visit when they come to see their family or friend, you know, and try to be that way with the staff also, so that they're not afraid to come to us if they have a problem.
SSOs also work closely with hospital staff members through an initial orientation for new staff members. SSOs also provide staff members with their ID badges, personal alarm devices, and recurrent training. This includes fire drills and the operation of safety equipment. An important part of the SSO's job is to be constantly vigilant for anything that poses a danger to staff, patients, or visitors on their facility's grounds. SSOs are also responsible for inspecting thousands of family care and outpatient facilities located throughout the state. Working with vulnerable populations such as the mentally ill and developmentally disabled requires special attention to detail that may not be cause for concern in other settings.
We make sure that the exit doors are functioning properly, that the emergency lights and lamps are working, the alarm systems are working. We patrol the grounds, we patrol the buildings, we check the fire extinguishers.
We lock doors, we check on locked doors, make sure areas that are supposed to be secured are secured, to make sure that patients who shouldn't be leaving don't leave because they're not able to take care of themselves if they leave the hospital.
We just basically walk through the entire building, every square foot of the common areas, and make sure that everything's safe. They can use anything as simple as a pencil or a hair clip, anything to harm themselves. They can cut themselves open with it, they can stab themselves. In the children's unit, we're not even allowed to leave a staple on the ground.
As the officers conduct their inspections, they often have the opportunity to interact with patients and get to know them. While not part of the treatment staff, officers play a part in supporting patients in their efforts to get well.
I often think that our hospital, we offer two things to patients. We offer treatment, and then we offer a connection and care. And both of those are very, very important to the patient's recovery. And the safety officers, with their kind words, their encouragement, they tell the patients, you're part of this community, you matter to us.
If you know the consumers that you're dealing with on a daily basis and you get to talk to them, you can tell, as you could with anybody. I'm just not talking about consumers. You can tell even with my friends of yours, or you can tell when there's something that's bothering them. And you can do the same with these consumers.
They might be depressed, so you have to deal with it in a certain way. And, you know, just take it slowly with them and try to understand that they're here for a reason. I would treat them just like if it was a family member of mine, and just have the understanding with them.
Like any good officer on the beat, SSOs use their relationships with those they serve to head off situations before they become too serious. Given that SSOs carry less defensive equipment than their law enforcement counterparts outside the hospitals, they must often rely more on their training and personalities.
Yesterday, for example, there was a patient on one of the wards that was getting pretty agitated. He's a large guy, so I had to go up and try to talk to him. And nobody on the nursing staff, from the nurse to the LPN to the TAs, could get this guy to take some medication to calm down. He was insisting that it was laced, you know, and he wanted to talk to a judge. I took him aside for 5 minutes, calmed him down, and just talked to him person to person, just about everyday things. I finally asked him in the end if he would come back out and take the pill for me, and he did.
Despite the treatment staff's best efforts, confrontations are an almost daily fact of life when dealing with the mentally ill and developmentally disabled. These incidents often will endanger the health and safety of both staff members and patients.
If third PAs can't handle it, then this is why they call us, because we're like last resort. We have maintain order and make sure everything gets taken care of the right way.
These type of daily incidents can be dangerous for SSOs and often lead to injuries. The frequent assaults also test the professionalism of officers.
I transported a patient into another building, and he was an elderly man, you know, didn't think much of it, and did not know he didn't like female, just female in general, and he punched me right in my face, was bleeding, and I did what I had to do with him, took him in and everything, and then came back, and I had to catch myself and realize that he's here for a reason. You know, it's not like he's a criminal out there and he knew what he was doing. The patients in here, they don't know what they're doing. So you have to take that in perspective and catch yourself and say, okay, he didn't know what he was doing.
Many hospitals and developmental disability centers cover large areas in an open campus setting. It is the responsibility of the SSOs to patrol these grounds. Vehicle patrols are an important part of protecting the patients and staff outside the walls of the hospital.
Well, patrol is definitely a deterrent to any criminal activity on the grounds, from simple trespassing to break-ins. I'm sure that there would be arsons. Abandoned buildings are notorious, especially around here, for arson. So that would definitely be a problem for the patient safety, since we do have patients that do walk the grounds.
Enforcing traffic laws such as speed limits is also a key element of ensuring safety on the grounds in order to minimize vehicle or personal injury accidents. While it is a necessary function, it is a challenging and potentially dangerous part of an SSO's duties.
Your adrenaline starts to go up, and you get a little nervous. You don't know what to expect. You have no idea what that person in that vehicle is thinking, what they're doing. You don't know if they have a weapon. When you're approaching a vehicle, you don't know what's going to happen. You have no idea. And it's stressful enough for a police officer who does have a sidearm, and when we're approaching a vehicle without one, we take precautions. I mean, we call in the vehicle plate number. So that's probably, as far as law enforcement goes, that's probably one of the most dangerous parts of the job.
SSOs work closely with their counterparts in local police departments. Often, SSOs will call upon local police for assistance, but dealing with emotionally disturbed people can be a challenge for officers from outside agencies.
They, more or less, they already know which are residents and which are patients, and they quickly call us and notify us and let us know that something's wrong with one of them. They don't know how to act with them or treat them. So they call us, and we send the vehicle out to the town, and we talk to the patient, try to get them in the vehicle, and we bring them back in.
The amount of police work SSOs do is determined by their hospital administration and their relationship with their local police departments. In the 5 boroughs of New York City, the police department expects SSOs to process arrests of patients and non-patients alike on their own. This includes gathering all information necessary to book the suspect, as well as photographs, fingerprinting, and bringing the suspect to court. Park police officer, building inspector, hazmat officer, fire marshal, and therapist, safety and security officers are a vital part of New York's safety net for the mentally ill and developmentally disabled. It is their training, professionalism, and vigilance that provides the necessary environment for clinicians to provide quality care for patients, for visitors to spend time with their loved ones, and for the patients to make strides in their treatment program. The men and women who do this important work understand they are making a contribution to the care of New York's most vulnerable citizens. It is why they take on the challenges of serving as a safety and security officer.